First Torah reading of the year. As such, it has very important lessons to teach us, beginning with the very first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. For many commentaries who wrote introductions to their works, Rashi, however, did not do so. And as much as we can assume that his first comments on the Torah, on the verse, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, form an introduction of sorts, when we look at what Rashi comments on this verse, we'll be able to understand that that is his introduction to his commentary of the entire Torah. Rashi states many times throughout his commentary that he is explaining the simple meaning of the Bible. His commentary throughout the Bible is suitable for a child who is beginning to study. As a matter of fact, his commentary is all that is needed for a young child to be able to understand all of the 5 books of Moses. Yet we the first Lubavitcher Rebbe called Rashi's commentary the wine of Torah. Just as wine reveals a person's secrets, so too does Rashi reveal the mysteries of the Torah. In other words, Rashi contains both the simple explanation as well as the Kabbalistic explanation of everything that's written in the Torah. Rashi comments on the very first verse in the Torah. Rabbi Yitzchak said, "Why does the Torah begin with the verse, 'In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth'?" Since Torah is a teaching, the very word Torah means teaching, I would have thought that it should begin with the first commandment, which was given to the Jewish people. This commandment does not appear until we get well into the second book of the Torah. Why does the Torah begin here telling us that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, which doesn't seem to be any sort of a teaching whatsoever? Rashi answers that the nations of the world may have a question, and they do have a question. How can the Jews take away Canaan from the 7 nations? How is it permissible for the Jews in the time of Joshua to have taken away the land of Israel from the nations who occupied it already? Therefore, the Torah begins by teaching us that God created the world. He can give it to whomever he pleases, and he can take it from them and give it to someone else. It's his world. So the fact that he took it away from the Canaanites and gave it to the Jewish people is really no question. This presents us with quite a few difficulties. Number one, why would a question that Gentiles may and do ask determine where the Torah begins? Torah isn't there to answer questions which may be prompted by the other people of the world. Why in the world do we begin the Torah from a certain point just in order to answer a question that others may ask us? Number two, what reason is there that the Torah should not begin by telling us that God created the world? The fact of the matter is that Torah is teaching us what the world is and what our responsibility in the world is, and our responsibility seems to be totally based on the fact that, yes, God created the world. Why does this pose a question? Number three, no one, including a Noahide, meaning a Gentile, is permitted to steal. Yet we find nowhere that conquering another nation's land is called stealing. Why should there be any question whatsoever that because the Jewish people conquered the land of Canaan from the Canaanites and transformed it into the land of Israel, why should that be a question that anyone could ask? That how could the Jews possibly do such a thing? Question number 4. After the flood, we find that Noah divided the world amongst his children. The land of Canaan, the land of Israel, was originally given to the children of Shem, to the Semites, to the Jews. The Canaanites, who were descendants of Ham, a different son of Noah, were the ones that took it away from the Jews. In the time of Joshua, when the Jews conquered Israel, when the Jews conquered Canaan, we were merely reclaiming that which was originally and rightfully ours. Number 5, there are quite a few commandments which appear earlier in the Torah. For example, in Bereishit, in the book of Genesis, we find the commandment of circumcision. We find the commandment of not eating the sciatic nerve of an animal. Is Rashi suggesting that we should have skipped these mitzvot, that these commandments should not be written as well? If that is what he is suggesting, then why doesn't he say so? The answer to all of these questions is as follows. The nations of the world would not have complained if we merely conquered the land of Israel in the same manner that any other nation conquered one land from a different nation. Their complaint was not the quantity of our conquest, but rather the quality of our conquest. Jewish people conquered Israel in such a way that it became a totally Jewish land. That is the reason that we say in our festival prayers, Mipnei chataenu galinu me'artzenu, because of our sins we were exiled from our land. In other words, despite any other factors, come what may, it remains our land. When the Jewish people in the time of Joshua conquered Canaan and remade it, transformed it into the land of Israel, into a holy land, it became a land which can in reality never be taken away from us. It always and forever will remain a holy land, a Jewish land. No matter how hard the nations of the world try, Israel is and remains the Jewish holy land. This was God's will. At first, the land should be impure, should be given over to the Canaanites, and the job of the Jewish people is to take this land and transform it into something holy. This is the introduction to the Torah. Every single teaching of Torah is based on this concept, how we must transform the worldly things around us, the mundane, the impure things around us, into something which is pure. We must sanctify the entire world. And this is the teaching of in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. As far as the other commandments are concerned, the only commandments which we are obligated to keep are commandments which God gave the Jewish people as the Jewish nation. Not only that, but we are not responsible to circumcise our children and ourselves, every Jewish male, because Abraham, our forefather, Avraham Avinu, was commanded to circumcise himself and all of his children. Rather, because Moshe was commanded in the Torah for all of the Jewish people for all time to the commandment of circumcision. Before the giving of the Torah and the Exodus which led up to it, we were not a Jewish nation. We were one family or tribe from amongst all of the other nations of the world. We were a special nation, granted, but a nation still the same. It was not until God gave us the Torah, it was not until God chose us and we became His special people that these commandments really apply to us as Torah, as commandments of the Torah. What does this mean for us now? It means simply that we can and we must reach the time that everyone sees and admits that the Jews are the sole proprietors of Israel. The only way that this will happen is through the coming of Mashiach now.